Okay, my name's Shepheard and I'm from Candlelighters, which is a children's charity based in Leeds, but we cover Yorkshire. I've been with the charity 3 years, and in that time we've grown. Some of you will already know us. Some of you will know us quite well, and some not at all. So I may be telling you things that you already know, but hopefully you'll learn something from what I talk about today. I think the most important thing is that when I joined, we used to talk about the charity being a small charity. I don't know what your impressions of a small charity are, but last year we did raise 1.4 million, which is fantastic. And a huge amount of money has been given to us that we have a huge responsibility to spend wisely, and that's kind of my job. Don't do it on my own. I have a huge team of support. The board is made up of 4 medics, 4 parents and 1 patient. So we're fed, the charity is looked after very well by people in the know, if you like. We work really, really closely with the NHS, and in Leeds especially, because that's where we're based. But it's really important to know that in the next few years we will be spreading out across Yorkshire, and hopefully we will get to see and hear more of what people want out in the far reaches of Yorkshire. I think I'd like to tell you what Candlelighters does. What do? We spend an awful lot of money on research, which is fantastic. For a small to medium-sized charity, to spend what we do on research is amazing. We've just committed to spend just over £2 million on research fellows based in Leeds, and hopefully spanning the next 6 to 8 years. Now, these will be the paediatric oncologists of the future. So we are investing in the future for children's cancers, and specifically out of Leeds. What else do we spend our money on? You think that's a lot of money, but we actually spend quite a lot of money on family support. And when we talk about family support, it's a huge word, and I actually hate the word support, but it actually kind of in a nutshell says what we do. When a family comes to us and is diagnosed in that first instance with a childhood cancer, they will then first hear of us, along with other charities as well, and they'll actually get a grant from Candlelighters. That's one grant of many that a family will receive during their time with us. So the grants go towards whatever the family wants to spend it on. It's a time of madness and craziness, and a time of huge financial hardship. So we are one of many charities that give financial grants. For Christmas still comes around, even though you're going through treatments. We give families an additional grant. Hopefully comes at a time when there's extra pressures on the finances in the family. We also raise money and spend on a huge Christmas party. Anybody that's here who's been to the Christmas party will know it's not a tiny weeny playgroup type party. It's a huge event. It's at the Royal Armouries every year, and that's for staff and patients and their families. It's really important that Candlelighters keeps everybody together and moulded, because we want to show families that we're here to support them. The Christmas party is huge. We probably have 200 to 300 people attend the party every year, and I'd like to say, on my behalf anyway, it's the best party of the year. We really, really love doing it. Into the following year, then families can apply for exceptional grants. So I'm talking about money constantly here, and any time during the journey, a family social worker or Macmillan nurse or themselves can come to us and ask for money, which sounds very strange, and it's actually easy to say but really hard to do, to ask for help. But we try and make it as easy as we can for families to come to us to get help. And then, obviously, if the worst thing happens and there's a bereavement in the family, we do actually assist with funeral costs. And that may sound horrible, but we're one of many charities that do that. It's a time when money's really tight. The last thing you need to be worrying about is paying for these things, and that's what we do. So that's kind of all the grants, if you like, in a nutshell. Throughout people's time with us, they will be offered holidays. In the past, if you knew Candlelighters a few years ago, you will know that we actually, through Challenge Annika in the 80s, built some wooden lodges in Bridlington. Well, unfortunately, over the last 20 odd years, they've obviously made of wood deteriorated and we had to get rid of them. So what we've done, keeping up with the times and keeping in touch with families and asking what they wanted, changed our holiday provision and gone a little bit upmarket and work with Centre Parks now, which most people will have heard of. I mean, Centre Parks is fantastic. It's a huge family environment. There's swimming, there's lots of exercise, so that should tick some of the boxes. But there's a home from home. So you're in a house, you're not in a hotel, you can be yourselves. I'll wait for the baby to stop crying. And so we hope that families will get that break away from the hospital, away from treatment, but knowing that they're actually not too far away from the hospital if they need to be. So we send a family on holiday, and you might think that's fantastic, but how on earth are they going to get there, and how do they pay for everything? We also give a family grant cheque with the holiday, and that helps families pay for petrol, food, extra expenses. So when I talk to corporates about supporting us, the holidays are a really key thing that we try to get corporates to support. Some of our holidays, especially in the peak times, can cost over £1,000. And that's a lot of money. Anybody that's ever been to Centre Parks knows how expensive they are. But over £1,000 can take a family of up to 8 people away for a week or for a long weekend, and we think it's worth every penny. Most of our families come back having had a fantastic time and thank us, obviously, and then hopefully they will go on to support us in the future and help other families go on holiday. And we think by giving them a quality break that they will actually want to come back and support us. And touch wood, that's what's happened so far. So we also offer holidays in caravans. We can offer short breaks. If the family wants to all meet up, I don't know, on the East Coast, we can pay for a hotel. We can be quite random. The best thing about being in a small charity and not a national is we can react. So if we have one family in Yorkshire that wants some help, we can actually think about it and look at helping them. National charities don't have the pleasure of that sometimes, and they work regionally, and I understand that. But I think the most exciting thing for Candlelighters is that we can actually work locally and affect local families. I don't want to go on too much about what we do, because if you have a look at our newsletter, we kind of try to tell the story in 16 pages of what we do. This newsletter comes out 3 times a year, and we try to keep all our families up to date. You can see how much the charity's grown over the last few years in that we now print 10,000. So anybody that knew Candlelighters a few years ago will think, woo, that's quite a lot of printing. So we actually mail this out to over 8,000 people, and we print 10,000 because that's how many extras we give away. If you have a look at our newsletter, and please do take one if you're not on the mailing list, you'll see some interesting stories in here from survivors and from families that have gone on to live great lives. And we love to tell our other families how great things can be. Obviously, the newsletter's full of information, but it's an information booklet with hope and with positive messages. And I think that's what we get from our families, that they actually want to read good stuff. They know all the bad stuff, they know what could happen, but they actually would prefer to read something quite positive, and that's what we do. What else do we spend our money on? There's a few people have mentioned today about outdoor play areas and places for families to go and smell fresh air and see the sun. 2 years ago, we finalised working with the NHS to use a strip of land outside of the pavilion, outside of the Clarendon wing, So we've built a pavilion, and it actually cost a huge amount of money, over £300,000. There's a soft play area, there's a planting area, there's seating. And now we're looking at that as an outdoor area for families, for teenagers, for just groups to go and sit and think. There's homework to be done, there's food to be eaten in a separate place, and that's what we wanted that room to be. One of the trustees on my board, who was instrumental in making that happen and look like it looks, actually is a parent. And one of his issues around St James, if you like, was not being able to smell fresh air and sit somewhere non-medical. And so through his work being a trustee and obviously working with the trust, we managed to build this building. So from a trustee's point of view, he's been a parent, has a surviving child, and has now gone back to do some fab work. So we spent £300,000, and we would call that family support because it's supporting the family. But what we do actually in the hospital is quite important too. So if you were an inpatient in Leeds or in the clinic, you may see some extras that you think, where does that come from, or is this how it is in the NHS? You only have to visit another ward maybe, and you might see things differently. Working with Rachel and the team in the hospital, we identify areas where they need support. They come to us and ask for the money, and it's really simple. This can be over a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and we write out some notes of what the hospital needs. And if we can help, we will help. We have a few additional staff that we do pay for. We pay for Elaine, who sat here in a Candlelighters t-shirt. Elaine supports the families on the ward. She ensures that the children get what they want to eat. She runs around. How many miles do you do a day, Elaine? 100. I think Elaine's just got a pedometer fitted.
18,742. Just on a shift.
Okay, one shift, 18,000 steps, pretty damn cool. I think that just shows what Elaine does. So she runs around after families and children, and they love her. And we are proud, delighted, amazed that that can have that much effect on families. We also pay for other staff within the trust. Some of it's part payment of social workers. We work with the trust, with the local council, anybody that we have to ensure that the extra staff are where they're required. I think sort of going forward, we've spent quite a lot of time, I've spent the last 2 years probably listening to families and trying to work out what we could do. We've raised all this money now, how on earth are we going to spend it wisely? So what we've done through talking to families and research, and at the moment we're doing a piece of research, is we've actually rented a property just near to the hospital in Leeds, which we will be using as our central hub. I don't want to call it head office, but it's very similar. We will just be using one floor of the building for admin and 3 other floors for family support. So if you take a look at our newsletter, it will list what we're hoping to do in that building. So at the moment, it's 3 stories of empty rooms where we hope to see lots and lots of families in the future come to us and walk away feeling slightly better. We know as a charity that we can't cure cancer, we can't do anything around the medics, but what we can do is support the family. When I talk to some families, the wider circle of networks of families tend to be the ones that are left behind and forgotten. That's the aunties, the uncles, the grandparents. So we're hoping that we can draw in parents, siblings and patients, but also that wider network in the future, and actually bring them in to give them support to carry on with their lives. So when you spend an awful lot of time supporting your friends or your family around cancer, there will be a knock-on effect. So it's hoping that we can actually ensure that those people go on and get some support too. So please take one of these. The hub should be opening in January 2015, and by hub we hope it's the first of many. The first one will open January 2015, and we're looking at moving into Hull and York in the following year. And that hub may not be a building, it might be people. We're looking at outreach work, working with the trust and seeing what we can do in the future in those areas. So the piece of research that we're doing at the moment is the first step towards supporting people in the wider Yorkshire area.